Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, our final group of the afternoon session nearly started with a golden break. Instead, it's a dry break from Brian Halcrow. So straight away, Ronan McCarthy with the first opportunity. And Mark, I mentioned it in the studio there. I think it was the shock of the tournament so far for Brian to come through beating Shane. I think the fact that he has, I still feel like he needs to step his level up again to beat Ronan.
Yeah, I think you had it exactly right. Ronan loves this kind of game. He's like a sort of superior version of that tactical player. He's just not going to be fazed by anything that's thrown at him. I think if it ends up in a scrappy game, both of the players will kind of be happy, but Ronan's probably still got the slight edge. I mean, Brian, he's just had such a good weekend. I guess he's got sort of, or weekday, I should say. Normally have weekend events.
It feels like the weekend.
It feels like the weekend. He's done better than he would have expected already. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see him lift a level. But, yeah, he can't make the mistakes that he made against Shane.
He's also not going to have a tactical advantage where he possibly could have done against Shane in terms of slowing it down and that sort of thing. Ronan can go toe-to-toe with anybody in the world. Nobody has more knowledge of the game than Ronan. So that's also something that Brian has to watch out for.
This has turned into a really good chance for Ronan, both at the table, but also this draw. I mean, he would have been expecting, with the best one in the world, to be playing Shane Thompson if he got through to the group final. This is an easier draw, although you can never take anyone for granted. Ronan obviously had that purple patch that was so well talked about in the middle of the autumn. Had a slightly disappointing time out of the last Pro Series, lost 7-6 in both prelim matches. Don't think he necessarily did a lot wrong in either of those, but just never really got into that tournament. So be delighted to be back and making inroads into this one.
Oh, he's flown through this visit really nicely. Excellent start for Ronan McCarthy. Reverse clearance. I thought Ronan broke really well in his first match without having any success or a huge amount of success. I felt like the quality of contact and control was good. And a similar story there. He's never going to break with huge power, but again, the quality of contact was good. Straight up the middle of the table, but can't find any friends out there.
Yeah, it's good quality contact. It was a decent amount of pace, and it was kind of crazy that the whites ended up in that bottom corner. That was nowhere near where it started. Although, having gone dry, I'll be quite happy to see the white there. That's something we have seen over the years with Brian. His potting is not his strength. Once you get in, he's quite good at controlling the white and finding a way around a finish, but often it's that first ball to get started. It can be a challenge. Oh, it's a good story. The first group was such a high standard. Sean's story coming through that was kind of sort of went as predicted, but it's nice to have some different styles of play. That's what the game's all about.
Yeah, many different ways to do it. I think a lot of the new breed are super attacking, wide open ball, but Ronan is a good example. He's got the all-round game, the knowledge, understanding when to go, when not to go. We saw that a few times in his match with Dylan. Big difference between Ronan and Dylan in that match. Just was a couple more missed pots from Dylan.
Yeah, Ronan's experience. When you hear him on commentary as well, there are often times when he calls a shot or advises caution where the player's going for something. He just seems to know the right balance, particularly for his own game. He does what's right for him. I think we all knew when he joined Ultimate Pool that he was going to be a force to be reckoned with, but I don't think anyone could quite have imagined the year that he would go on to have.
That was a delightful positional shot. Kewell moved a long way, and it's absolutely ball in hand perfect to give himself whatever angle he wants on this last one.
Yeah, which was important because you can see the 8 ball slightly guarded there, so just needed to leave this slight angle so that he can just find his way into that gap. And again, not trying to overplay the shot, just happy to leave himself a shot at this.
Very good. Hard thing with the way he tries to break is hitting the cue ball solid. And that is as good as we've seen him hit it today, actually. Didn't quite get the front ball solid, but he got the cue ball. Power going through it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. It's not just the hitting it straight, but we've seen several of his previous breaks with a lot of spin on the cue ball, which means you lose control. That one he caught pretty much flush in the middle of the white.
Yeah, it means there was more power going down there, but didn't get the front ball square, but he'll take this result every single time. Now he has to get to work and try and make a finish.
Yeah, his issue this season has been just not clearing enough off the break, which has been, at this level, quite damaging because his opponents just aren't giving him enough free goes. Ronan's not the kind of opponent to be giving away chances.
Oh, huge fluke from Brian. Missed that by quite a distance, came right across it. Ends up going in the middle pocket.
Yeah, he missed that by some margin for the second time in this match, missing the first ball of a clearance, but the saving grace of that fluke this time.
I tried to play a similar... Oh, has he fluked another one? Oh, it stays on the jaw. He tried to play a similar shot to the actual fluke, as in playing a yellow off a yellow. This time it doesn't go in. So a really disappointing visit to the table for Brian after the break. That was a layout he will have fancied and expected to take out.
I'm sure Shane Thompson will be watching this match, but were he to be, I think he'd be wondering why Brian couldn't have played like that against him.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say he won't be watching.
Yeah, I think we can go with that version. That's the nature of pool, though, isn't it? Sometimes you play well and sometimes it's hard to keep it going. What Ronan's done really well this year is the consistency across long tournaments played over multiple days. This is a slightly different one where the initial group stages are just played in the space of a couple of hours. Whoever wins this one will then have a bit of a break. They'll be coming back on Thursday afternoon for their quarter-final, or Thursday evening for their quarter-final.
Yeah, Sean Story awaits for the winner of this match. Yeah, it's slightly unique the way the tournament plays out like that, but I think that works well.
Yeah, it works well for the players because it sort of narrows their commitment down, and they know in a more time-boxed way when they need to be here. It's also good for the viewers because you sort of get to know a player and it makes the story a bit easier to follow. Much as we all love the Pro Series, where we've got, well, 400 people across the Pro and Challenger Series in play at one time. The kind of nice simplicity of just having all the action on one table. You feel like you can follow the whole storyline. Ronan just coming around to check. The 8 ball does drop into the centre. You can squeeze it in off the jaw and off the yellow. So actually a fairly big pocket, this.
Flies in 3-0, 3 visits to the table essentially for Ronan McCarthy.
Whilst an experienced player, was something of an outsider for both of those tournaments when he went into it.
Right, he was in line to win 5 at one point, ended up with 3, but he was looking good for 5. The 2 main ones as individual ones has only ever been done once before by Mick Hill, back in 2010, I believe.
The thing about those tournaments as well, just played over such a long time, so many rounds to get through. It's not like you're just having a good afternoon, you're just going to keep it going for day after day after day.
Yeah, and he seemed to build throughout the week as well. Got stronger and stronger.
As you know from covering it, it's pretty exhausting just being there for that length of time, never mind playing all those matches.
Yeah, they had a really good team spirit, which I actually, in a strange way, felt it helped him in the individual events. Just comes into a little bit of trouble here. Cannon didn't go to plan. Just to finish what I was saying, there was a good team spirit, and they were really sort of helping each other off the table in terms of, you know, he had friends there preparing meals for him the whole week and all that sort of stuff, and it was really, you know, they dealt with things very, very professionally, and it just meant they were always ready for their team matches, but also individual matches.
The team spirit is definitely one of the nicest things about the World Championships. It makes for such entertaining viewing, watching those one-frame team matches. It's also very good practice because you get yourself under so much pressure in those kind of situations that if you do get to a deciding frame in a match like this, you feel like you're well practiced for it.
Oh, that was an excellent shot from Ronan. Took a few extra seconds to work that one out, but that was very well executed. That one not so much. He shows his frustration, possibly for the first time today. Don't see that from Ronan very often. Wanted that 8-ball to pop out further.
Yeah, frustrated as well because it wasn't a shot he necessarily had to play. He was trying to improve things with the cannon and just made it worse.
And perhaps a very un-Ronan McCarthy-like minute and a half there, because it wasn't just the showing the frustration. He played the next shot as though he had frustration still within him, because that looked, the shot was on, but it just looked, the way he executed it looked rash.
Yeah, it's a lot of body movement there. He got right across it. And Brian's got to read the room on this. You can see that his opponent's a little bit rattled. This would be a good frame to win. Obviously, from a scoreboard point of view, he's a long way behind already, but just to compound his opponent's frustration as he sits in the chair.
Yeah, you feel that he has to punish that mistake from Ronan if he's got any hopes of this match. Can't let this frame slide now and go 4-0.
No, he couldn't really ask for a better roadmap here. That ball to the middle is a tightish angle, but the 8-ball's, well, I was going to say the 8-ball's nicely waiting, but he's going to have to play them in the other order now. I don't know if that was his plan originally.
Well, reaction tells us it wasn't. Very frustrated where he's left the cue ball. As always, it's like his try to play was topspin and got nothing on. Oh, doesn't want to be straight. It's a little bit straighter than he wanted. I'm not sure why you wouldn't just drop that in and leave loads of angle.
Yeah, it's an easier shot to control apart from anything else with more angle. The only saving grace here is there's quite a big gap in the side of the table to play the position.
I had just enough to force it down. That's okay.
Yeah, not made this look maybe quite as easy as the finish was, but as long as he can dispatch this 8-ball, he won't mind that.
Well, Brian Halcrow is on the board. He needed that one. A nice, you want to make sure of, 20 to 25. You don't want to rush to get 15. And if you go in second and you've only got to beat 25, you're never going to end up with 15, or very unlikely. So it's one of those records that could stand a long, long time.
That and the fact that he potted 2 off the break, adopting a slightly unconventional break compared with a lot of pros. So I'm not sure many people will be copying that technique.
Yeah, that's very true as well. Success of the break here for him. And a really nice layout here. So it's come down the table. I thought you might drop that one in and deal with the ones top left first, because you have to take the higher one of the 2 before the lower one of the 2. He's decided to leave them. And I don't think they're ideal, unless the left-hand one does slide past to the top corner, but I don't think it does. You wouldn't want those 2 to be your last 2 balls.
No, I'm with you. That felt like those 2 could be the ones that come back to haunt him. Didn't really matter the 2 balls going in once. Once are okay, but it's how he gets positioned. Wow, for not the first time today, he has missed a very routine shot. And this is the thing that really kills you in a match. It's okay to miss difficult chances, but the confidence it gives your opponent when you're missing balls like that.
Yeah, and that could be a major moment. There's been a few misses in the match already from Brian, but Ronan looking so good, making the mistake in the previous frame. if Brian could have punished it twice with a break clearance there and it was absolutely on, 3-2 for the way the first 25 minutes or so of the match, sorry, 15 to 20 minutes of the match will have gone, would have been very, very good for Brian the way it's been. Now it could well be 4-1 and Ronan gets, you know, the rewards for probably dominating the match so far.
And psychologically as well, Ronan was sat in his chair looking very frustrated. Then that miss came and he fairly raced to the table. It's almost like it's all been reset and forgotten the mistakes he made in the last frame. Back to the usual service we saw earlier in the match. Looks much more purposeful around the table again.
That's a slightly loose one from Ronan. Pretty much anywhere on the table's fine, apart from getting too close to your work. It could get awkward, but yeah, a very, very strange one.
Yeah, the margin for error there was absolutely massive. You could play it from anywhere that you weren't snookered. This is short of actually being behind a ball. This is about as bad as it could get. So then when you look at it from the overhead angle, the pot's well, say the pot's okay. The white would be running very loose, which is the concern. It looks like he's even potentially considering a safety. Now he has come back to looking at the potting angle again.
Almost needs to get the snooker here. Yeah, only leave sight of the top yellow. And I think he's just about done that. If Brian can see, even if he can, I was going to say, if he could see the underside, maybe he could find a safety, but it's still really, really tough from here for Brian.
It's amazing. Ronan McCarthy is one of the best positional players in the world. If you said you just need to get position on that ball that's hanging over the corner pocket, failed to do that.
Yeah. He likes to get close to his work, economy of movement and all that, but that was getting too close to your work.
Yeah, I think you might have been better walking around the table rather than keeping it too tight. Anyway, as it happens, it doesn't look like it's going to be a very easy return for Brian.
Might have to go full-blooded here and come up with a double or the treble. Yeah, it was nice for him that he was able to get back to the table, but it was very, very long odds to do anything with it. So a let-off for Ronan McCarthy.
Now the cue ball in the kind of position it should have been in before. He can play the shot he wanted to.
A little bit betwixt and between again.
How much of this, you wonder, is playing an opponent that doesn't seem likely to capitalise on the mistakes? If he's playing somebody where he knows every miss is going to be punished, does he make these errors?
Yeah, I think it's a valid point.
It's very easy to look at it and think Gareth Potts is the warm favourite, which is right, but none of them would be a surprise win it. Mark Fleming, one of the new pros for 2023, he'll be happy to have made these televised stages at his first event. Comes from a quality pool playing family. We saw his brother win on this table the amateur championships we held earlier in the year.
Yeah, I think you're right. Four very good players, but that's what you have with the Pro Series and Ultimate Pool Pro ranks now. There are no freebies. You're pretty much in the deep end from match one.
All of these players have had to play a qualifying round. That wasn't the case last year to get through to the Pro Cup. It was only the lower ranked players, but everyone's had to come through a qualifier. Brian, in fact, one of the lucky recipients of a bye there, his opponent unable to make it at the last minute, so he'll feel he's at least justified that bye. I guess there's always a suggestion, have you properly qualified if you haven't had to play a match, but of course the first win he's already had against Shane today, so he'll feel like he's in this tournament. Ronan had to come through 10-5 against Cole Bedford. Long format, you don't very often play a race to 10, but the players all having had to travel here for that qualifier, it was only right that they got a proper match out of it.
Yeah, slightly strange scenario, but I think the right thing as well. Oh, this is even this deep into the finish it's tricky still. They all have pockets, but sort of connecting them all up is tricky. And just like that, it's gone wrong. Needed to get the fuller contact on the yellow. He was trying to sort of kill it off the cushion with the check side.
Yeah, there are a few ways he could have got lucky. Just a touch on the red, he might have knocked it on, but he's just sort of sneaked through a gap and left himself nothing, really.
And that's not a particularly good safety shot. Not that he could do a huge amount. Left Ronan in amongst all the yellows, and everything goes, and everything has a pocket and a route.
Yeah, and he also left him on that one in such a way that he could just touch into the two that were slightly awkward, spread them out a bit further. Still got to mind his work, because getting position on the 8-ball isn't a formality. He's got to make sure he drops the right side of it. But he's got a lot of opportunities in the middle of the table to pick out that correct angle. It's generally the kind of finish that he's very steady at. Very good cue ball normally.
Yeah, the sort of finish where you pick a route where the cue ball doesn't do any movement at all, and you make it all look fairly simple. The one positional shot he will need to get right is the last one. 8-ball only goes bottom right.
Yeah, and there's not a completely obvious ball. I mean, obviously he will play off the one. Well, so obviously actually you could play it a couple of ways, but it's not like there's one sort of hanging over the pocket waiting for him.
Yeah, and if the plan was to leave the one that's nearest the line you can see on the table straight in, it's not guaranteed to be straight in, and if he has any angle on it, then it could become a real problem. So that wasn't the best of positional shots he's ever played.
Yeah, my first reaction was that he was going to play for that one, and then I stopped myself because it wasn't clear that it was going to be that easy to go that way, and he's now going to have to do quite a lot of travelling.
Well, likely to be the one in the middle now. Again, it needs a pretty good angle on it to get the position right. That's what he's coming around to have a look at. It needs to be precise on this next shot.
That looks pretty good. So he wanted to leave himself a slight angle, but he didn't want to have too much angle. The fact he's got down so quickly suggests that that was as he'd played it. No need to think about rerouting. In the end, just took his medicine, didn't try and get too close to this 8-ball. Knowing that when they're just off the cushion like this, you can just cut them along the cushion. It's okay to brush the near jaw as long as you play at a pocket weight.
Yeah, fascinating as well to see. He's having a look to see what he leaves if he misses. If he puts it right in the pocket and he leaves Brian straight on the red to the bottom left, Brian can't do a lot. Won't matter though, 8-ball has gone in.
7 more minutes of normal play though before we get to that point.
Oh, golden break would have helped, but 8-ball tracked close but not in. But he'll be happy with the result. I've said that a few times on his break. Hasn't really done much with them though when he's had them. And this, I think, is probably the best of the lot.
Yeah, I mean, we were a little sceptical about his breaking technique, but to be fair, the last 3 breaks have all been hit pretty well. It's been the failure to clear up afterwards that's been the costly thing. Can't afford another failure like that. 6-1 would pretty much be the end of this match.
I have to say, I'm still very sceptical about it, but I absolutely love to see it as well. I love to see variety in the game, and he's come up with something different. But he must have put some time in experimenting to try and find something that works, understanding how important it is.
Yeah, it gives us something to talk about when people don't all play the same way. We've seen a few different breaks today. Sean Story, quite unconventional hand on the table, but after 3 golden breaks in 2 matches, I think a lot of people are going to be giving that breaker seriously. Yeah,
but be warned, he does hit that incredibly hard for the cut break and doesn't jump the cue ball off the table, which is hard to do.
Yeah, it's not just as simple as hitting it hard, it's the fact that he's managing to keep the cue parallel to the table and not get any bounce on it that's allowing it to turn out like that.
Well, Brian with this finish here, I think maybe could have rerouted at the top a little bit more, because this is tricky to get on the one on the right hand side now. And I don't know if he was trying to there or not, but the line he had was going towards the red and he couldn't go any higher because the yellows were in the way. Now needs to force it across. Just about enough angle. And a very well played shot. Just was an awkward last 3 balls the way they were laid out. And if he was coming down the table from the top right, it would have been easier to get to where he is now. But he has negotiated the problems and comfortable pot down the cushion now. 8 ball waiting.
Yeah, this has been much better. This is exactly the kind of thing he needs to do. The break split them up nicely and then made it look a little bit difficult, but got the job done.
Yeah, this time he does get the result. Probably didn't hit that one quite as well as the previous couple, actually, in terms of he comes off the front ball just a fraction. Still got it solid though. You can see that there on the replay. Puts everything into it.
And for a moment he'll be thinking the same thing had happened again, because the ball bounced out the middle pocket or off the jaw of the middle pocket and then took a double kiss to go in.
But look at the layout he's got off the back of it. I mean, Brian would have had such high hopes of, okay, I need another dry break off Ronan, or a messy table or something, and the ball goes in and he looks up, what problems are out there for Ronan? None. It's just a case of Ronan connecting everything up, which he's so good at.
Yeah, it's a real Ronan special, this layout. All spread nicely, and also they link up in a kind of logical way. You haven't got to do anything outlandish to get from one to another. Taking the ones at the bottom of the table and then just naturally going to float up towards the middle for choice of ones at the top.
I think Ronan understands this is probably the only shot that can probably go wrong in this visit. First thought would be straight in on the red to the top left, would have left him perfect. Yeah, that's what he's looking at now, but maybe just has a shade more angle here than just rolling it through for it. It looks natural. Yeah, is natural.
Yeah, good focus there. That always looked like the logical shot, but the fact he took the extra time, he realised the importance. Going to 6-2 as we approach the last 10 minutes of the match would just be such a valuable lead.
Slight deceleration on that one. The reason being, because it was just off straight, the firmer you hit that, the more it goes across to the right-hand side. And on these super quick conditions out there, it wouldn't have had to hit that too badly to be behind the yellows. Sort of semi-quit on the shot, but still held up on that one enough to be okay.
Yeah, he's played a good recovery shot. He's playing with a lot of check side to kill the pace there, which didn't make the shot any easier to judge. He's taking these nicely though. Just this 8 ball for 6-2. This race to 7 match.
Brian comes up with his first break clearance of the match. Ronan responds straight away with one of his own.
Yeah, even over this time last year when we had the first staging, the Pro Cup, it just feels like the players have all spent so much time out in these match arenas and played each other so much over the course of 2022 that, as you say, no one is really that scared of anyone else anymore. Another well-hit break, got a lot of pace on that and got a fairly clean hit on the front ball compared with some of the earlier efforts. So sometimes the way though, you hit the ball better and get a worse result.
Well, Brian will be fearing the worst here.
Yeah, could easily have played his last shot. These have sat down pretty nicely for Ronan. Maybe not quite as routine clearance as the last one, but not a whole lot for him to do.
Yeah, just used the red because he didn't have the right angle on that one. Possibly he's gone a couple of rolls too far or a couple of rolls not far enough, depending on which way he was playing it. He's not quite got perfect control just yet. I feel like he's one shot away from making this a routine run to the line.
He thought that in playing that cannon off the red, he was going to hold perfect position and get that one shot, but as you say, it's just finished between these two. So they had to reroute the long way, but is finally in pretty much prime position.
Yeah, he can't track right behind the ball on the cushion, but you can see there he's telling us where he can leave it. He's just a roll past straight. And that's absolutely fine. Well, a very impressive performance from Brian, or a very impressive result from Brian to get over the line against Shane Thompson, but it looks like he's going to come up short here against the world champion.
15-second shot clock in play.
Well, the referee announcing in the background that the 15-second shot clock's in play, but that's not going to matter too much because he's going to need to use it once. And this has been a very good performance from Ronan McCarthy. He's been given some opportunities that you wouldn't necessarily have expected, but he's held up his side of the bargain. He's just gone about his business. Cleared up nicely.
Well, very warm welcome back into the Ultimate Pool studio. Ronan McCarthy is through to the quarterfinals. 2 top victories over Dylan Leary and Brian Halcrow. Joins myself and Sam Webb in the studio. Ronan, congrats. It's quarterfinal time. The run continues.
Quarterfinal time, yeah. I'm just glad to be got a good couple of wins there, and I haven't really practiced much because I've had the apron on there this last couple of days, baking and cooking and cleaning, and so I've surprised myself actually.
Well, that's what we like to hear. I mean, I know you keep yourself very busy off the table, but it didn't seem to show any signs of ring rust there.
No, like maybe an hour on Christmas night and half an hour Boxing Day really, and that was about it. And I had a knock when I arrived, but yeah, just glad to win a couple of matches now. I'm in the tournament. I think it's up to 2 sets now, so it gives me a chance.
I wanted to ask as well, the last time we saw you out there was in the Players' Championship final when you were using a rack break cue because you were having some issues. Was that on Santa's list for Christmas?
You know yourself, a break comes and goes, and sometimes I feel like I'm hitting them all right, but you know yourself, you could lift an out racker and break brilliant, or sometimes.
I said to you after your last match, in between the 2 matches, I said I thought you broke really well, but then you didn't get the results off them. So are you a player that looks at results from the breaks, or is it how you're hitting them?
I feel like if I hit them well, that's all you can do. I mean, you can't depend on the results from the break, but all you can do is hit them as well as you can. And I felt like I was hitting them all right. You know, I've hit them a lot worse and got balls. You know, so I'm happy enough for the way I'm breaking.
He's certainly playing well enough though on the table. I think over the course of 2 matches I counted 2 mistakes, maybe 3 if we're being ultra critical. You played really solid.
I was 3-0 up and I played 2 bad frames, and Brian should have had a chance. I played a terrible shot on my last ball to leave myself no shot. Was up near touching it. I had the whole table to play into, so just a couple of wee mistakes here and there, but like I say, you can't expect too much when you've been running about with an apron on for 2 days.
Well, we've got a few clips of your work, your handiwork here, Ronan. There was a lovely 8-ball along the rail at one stage, but it seemed to be just quite clean and precise, which is, I know how you like it.
But this one, that wasn't along the rail, mate. That's on the rail.
There's one coming up, don't you worry.
I think, obviously it's the whole performance, very, very professional all the way, and even the shot like this one, you made sure you left yourself a shot rather than trying to get too cute on it. But
that was the one I meant, right?
Yeah, you feel like the pockets is taking the ball along the cushion, so you feel like if you leave yourself a wee bit more distance, and you feel like you're going to pot it.
But you also looked like you looked at what you might leave if you just set it in the jaws. You were looking to see what you were going to leave Brian and potential counter clearance.
Yeah. Well, I wanted just to leave him straight. If it did happen to miss it, I wanted to leave him straight on his 3rd ball, so he couldn't do much with it really. So. But like I say, if you along them rails, you shouldn't really be missing too many balls.
Well, we've got a fantastic quarter-final now set for you, running against Sean Story, a player you've probably run into a couple of times over the last year or 2. And what do you make of him as opponent and a player, first of all?
Well, Sean's a great player. I think he was number 2 last year, or number 3, whatever it was. You don't get there without being a great player. And I think I played him in the Worlds at one stage. And
you had quarterfinals, yeah.
Yeah. But I played Sean a few times. I've actually a good record against him, so hopefully I can keep it up.
Yeah, and avoid those dancing shoes for any potential 6-red shootouts.
I don't want any of them against an athlete like Sean.
Well, congratulations on the win, Ronan. We'll see you in the quarterfinals in a couple of days' time.